Well, sorry for the late start. I had technical difficulties on my end, so that's my fault. Not Teal's, it's my fault. Sorry about that. All right, welcome to Paranormal Gateway Paratalk. I'm the host, Scott Wise, and not joining you tonight is Teresa. Maybe she'll pop in later. We have Teal Gray tonight. She's a best-selling author, host of Paranormal Mysteries and the Souls of podcast, as well as a secret and mysterious site traveler. She lectures literally mysterious and long-forgotten world practices, paranormal fields of study, ghost encounters, including those from her own home. She lectured and traveled with her extensive collection of Memento Mori items, helping many come to greater appreciation for the sometimes misunderstood practice of remembering the dead. As an ordained minister, Teal blends her knowledge of world religions and her gifts of intuition to assist paranormal investigative teams on sites of everything from historic buildings to sacred sites around the world. When she's not out exploring her vast reaches over the world, this Bestselling Texas native enjoys spending her time surrounded by her family and pets and preparing for her next adventure. Her latest book, The History Press, Haunted Denton, takes you through the dimly lit corners of Denton's eerie past, following a trail of Denton ghost stories from 19th century pioneers and outlaws to modern day businessmen who didn't intend to clock out. The haunted heritage of a fascinating Texas town is captured in the pages. Previously, Haunted Hill House Dark resides in Texas is available in three languages: English, Spanish, and Hindi, and is one of the most haunted houses in America. Bootleggers, prostitutes, card sharks, and outlaws have all called Hill House home. By 1898, one of the founding families, the home later became a makeshift hospital. Native Americans frequented the caves there, known as East Mountain, where it's rumored that outlaw Sam Bass hid his gold and a jewel thief lost his life. Due to high activity levels, the home has become one of the world's most renowned paranormal sites. One lucky viewer tonight will win Teal's Haunted House, a digital copy, drawing at the end of our show. Good luck! So without further ado, let's welcome Teal to the show. Teal, you're right here.
Hello, great to be here. Thank you for having me. Pleasure.
I'm out of breath now. I think it's your turn to talk. It's great having you on. Apologies for last month. I appreciate being able to come on tonight.
Oh, no problem. No problem. Happy to do it.
Yep. Happy to have you. So, I want to start in the beginning. Things started very young for you when you first noticed your gift, and then it progressed from there. Can you explain how it went?
Yeah, it was, I didn't realize it was any different. Of course, I'm sure that's the theme of everybody in that position. You don't realize that other people in the room are not seeing what you think is an actual person, but is in fact a spirit. So it took some time for me to understand that. And the house I grew up in was quite haunted, and the house I'm in now is quite haunted. So I may be the common denominator there. However, I will say there's some things that have happened in this house right when I moved into it that I didn't bring it with me. It was already here. So there were some things here, and I'm sure there's some things that follow people around. But I was, gosh, my earliest memories, 2.5, 3 years old, I would see things. I would see, spirits. I would see, for some reason, I don't know why, I would see disembodied hands, like all the time, a lot. I don't know what that means. Hands, just hands. I don't know. I've never understood that. So if anybody knows what that means, that would be great. But I would see disembodied hands, not always in prayer, sometimes just hands. And then there would be times I would, see spirits. There were interactions with a young spirit called Jamie, or that's what I knew her as. And people even said in the family who were disbelievers in the paranormal would see, chairs move on their own, like when Jamie was in the room, swings, different things like that would move on their own. So she certainly made her presence known. She was not harmful. Um,
Right.
but when I was in grade school, pretty much they were like, you can't, you got to make sure you never acknowledge us in public because other people don't see that and that's not good. So I learned, like many people, to shut it down or just ignore it and act like it isn't there and just not interact. And I did that for many years.
Well, it's
And
good you're
really
able
did
to do
me,
that.
it
Something
did
off
me
when you
no
need
good.
to.
Yeah, it did me no
Yeah.
good.
Right.
It was always around.
Wow. So, um, going out on your tours and stuff, and get to talk to people about their things. Um, do you have a lot of people who, well, of course, they ask about like their families who passed and stuff. Do you, anybody ask you about maybe past lives? Do you do that or no?
I don't deal with that at all, but sometimes I will pick up qualities in a person that might have been, it's not in their lifetime now, but
All
it's
right.
within their essence. And so that could well be attributed to past lives, but that's not something I focus on.
Right. Um, what yeah, what else do you like? I was looking at your world travels about some of the places you visited.
Well, I would say one of the favorite ones for me is Glastonbury in the UK. It has, of course, Glastonbury Tor, TOR. It essentially is a hill, big hill.
Hmm.
There's the Chalice Well, and it's called Chalice Well because they believe that Jesus's uncle took the chalice from the Last Supper, and when he traveled there, it's known for sure that he traveled there, and he was a tin and metal merchant, so it was not unusual for him to travel to that area. It was well, that was perfectly understandable. But when he was there, this well from all that time ago has been a pilgrimage because it is said that he put the chalice into the well. And so, of course, at the depths of the well, but that's why some people say the chalice has never been found because, they've never been allowed or tried, I guess, to even go and check the well and see if it is indeed there. Of course, that's also steeped in history for a lot of reasons. Going back, like I say, 1,500 years even, there was a lot of history with it. And then when you go to Henry VIII, he had a lot of issues with monasteries, and that there was one, there in Glastonbury, and so he destroyed it. And not only did he do that, he took, you know, um, the the head, you know, uh, person there and cut off his head, hung that on the gate, and quartered his body and sent to the four corners. It went on tour as this is something don't mess with the king. So it's been a pilgrimage for many many hundreds of years for several different reasons. So it's very interesting. There's of course the thought that King Arthur, was there and is buried somewhere near. So it has a lot of history there. That's one of my favorite ones.
Kind of reminds me of William Wallace. God's taken off in parts all over the different place.
Yeah, and Glastonbury is about I'd say an hour, maybe a little more from Stonehenge. So
Mm.
it's got a lot of close local history surrounding it. Bath is about I think an hour and a half, something like that. So it's an interesting area for anything like that.
I would love to go there. We don't go there, but
You would love
wow.
it. It's great. It's great.
I
You should do
know.
that.
Just try to get there. Um, like do you have people come up and asking you to teach them stuff, or do you do classes or anything? Or
I used to. I don't have the same time now that I did,
right,
a few years back, because so many books and tours and different things. So I don't do that anymore. Actually, there's several books that'll be coming out for me to teach. I used to do a lot of tea leaf reading, and I was taught that from my German grandmother when I was quite
yeah,
young.
really,
Um, yeah, so a lot of people were interested in tea leaf reading because, unlike tarot or other things, it's just not as commonly practiced or taught here in the U.S. And so there was a lot of demand for that. And but I don't, every once in a while I'll do a gallery, but I don't do. Right now, I'm not doing any private readings or things like that.
okay.
So.
Well, yeah, now
But
that
the
you're
books will
busy,
come out.
yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And, I'll probably get that one. But I read your Haunted Hill House and written, and I like both a lot. And I basically sat down and wrote a book in one day. I mean, that's how I went
Oh,
through it.
great.
Yeah, I like them both. And but yeah, I just would suggest people get it because it's great. And
Thank you so much. I'm glad you liked it.
do you want to delve in a little bit to you want to start with Hill House and then go to
Sure,
Denton,
sure.
or
I think Haunted Hill House is everybody's favorite. It's in
uh,
Mineral Wells, Texas. And of course, again, the history there, there's so much just there's history, and there's a lot of, the healing waters were in Mineral Wells,
oh
and
yeah,
it just goes back to so many things. I think when you have, you know and it goes back into Native American lands and the caves, and there's around Hill House, there's at least 3 wells that they know of,
oh
in around it and under it. There used to be railroad, that ran close to it. There's just every kind of haunting that a paranormal investigator would want is there. So
right,
you don't have to go to multiple locations. I mean, you have, of course, residual, but you have intelligent hauntings, you have very interactive hauntings. And I think that running into an actual demon, because there's levels of that. And I wrote a book, Shades of Angels, years ago, and to discuss the fact that people just thought angel meant good. And the truth
right.
is, there's as many dark angels as
Mhm.
light because of the fallen. So you have to take into account, when you're opening yourself up to angels and asking them to come into your life, you have to be very specific and ask for the good angels specifically, or you definitely would get a mixed bag of tricks.
Yeah, that's in your book too. There's good and the bad ones that were in your book, so check it out.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah,
The reason I wrote Shades of Angels is because, I all around the world, people would say, "Gosh, I'm really working with the angels." And they would keep telling me these things, and I was like, "Oh, no, that's not right." And then I realized, I don't know why it took me so long, but the light bulb finally went off, that they just thought the word angel meant good. And so I tried to educate, as entertainingly as possible, that there's as many light as dark, so you have to be specific. So the point in saying that is, I think to run into something that hierarchy, is like rarer than a lightning strike. However, I do believe that Haunted Hill House has a demon. And I believe that because he introduced himself to me in that way. And I talk about that a little bit in the book.
but you just don't want to say his name, right?
Oh, no. Well, I know him as Toby.
Oh, Toby, yeah,
His
Toby.
proper name, no, I wouldn't say his proper name. But a lot of people come across him as Toby. He's still, I mean, he's, to me, if you look on the back of the book, you have the book too. There's my take on what he looks like to me. Certainly very dark and
Mm,
scary, but also quite attractive. And there's been, a number of people who kind of have fallen in love with Toby, and
There
they he has that quality to him, of course.
there he is.
And yeah, you see that image. Some people have been so scared and bothered by that image that they cover up the back of the book with paper and tape so they can keep reading. So I didn't realize that. A lot of people reading the book have had that have had no paranormal issues in their homes before, have told me that when reading the book, they then would have things happen. They would see shadows. They would feel a presence, and that could be, excuse me, it could be that they're just spooked, but it's happened a lot. So I think it's a little more than that.
Wow, it could be. You're talking about the mineral water and in wells, and part of the book I thought was funny, not funny, but any way to make a buck is when they boiled the water down and then they sent the salt, whatever, and they sent with trains and stuff, and then to get it, you add water to it, and
That was really interesting. Yeah, I mean, the things that you research when you're doing a book, you find out things you'd never think you would. Yeah, they would boil, because it was just too hard, too expensive, and
yeah,
back in the day,
just ship,
with
yeah.
glass as your container, things are going to break. It's just not going to go well, and people all over the world wanted that water. So they took the water and they would, distill it down to where it was like a powder. And so then they would ship you this powder. Of course, it was at the same cost. But you would then take the powder from the healing waters and add it to your own water. Voila.
Water, just that water.
So they're very, the ingenuity never
I
ceases.
thought it was very interesting.
Yeah,
Anyway, they get buck back.
they made it work.
Yeah, they did at least for a while, huh?
Yeah.
Because wasn't there a whole bunch of different places then that opened up?
There was quite a few. I mean, of course, there was, the main one, and there was, probably 5 to 7. But some people have said, historically speaking, that there were a lot that aren't mentioned in the history books because they were just kind of small, as if you would say now the mom and pops, stands would pop up here and there. So, oh yes, around there was a lot of
Sounds like a little bed
demand, and then a lot of people bringing out the healing water. Now you've got to think, when you have so many people descending on a place, it's going to expand out, and there was no way that anybody could. There weren't enough hotels, there weren't enough anything back in the day, so you had people just camping out or making their way, essentially like a pilgrimage, just any way they could to get that healing from that water.
Wow, yeah, that's something else. I think I buck.
You could write a book just about that.
How about that's funny. There was something about Sam Bass.
Yeah,
Sam
Sam Bass, of
said,
course.
right? Sam Bass or Sam Bass?
Sam Bass, Bass.
Got right
He is actually also in. I talk about him a little bit in my new book, Haunted Denton, because he was in Denton for a part of his life, and made his way around, the Denton Square and all about here. So did Jesse James, Bonnie and Clyde. There's a whole lot of outlaws that were here. And Sam Bass, though, in his beginning, when he was here in Denton, he was not always an outlaw by any means. He was, in fact, noted to be friends with, lawmen, and he was noted to be a very diligent, hard worker. And I think, to me, just in the research, it seemed like after he started, his work in the stables and things, and then there was a lot of horse racing and gambling, things like that were happening back in the day here. He then got a very fast mare, a horse, and it was called the Denton Mare. and because that's
For
where he
real?
got her, and he would race her everywhere, and she won and won and won. And so then his propensity for all of the gambling and falling in, line with people who were less than desirable, I think that sort of took him on a different path. That's just my opinion. But as far as the haunted Hill House book, I touch more on the fact that it's noted by so many people that he, if you take Haunted Hill House and you're looking at it from the front, behind it is is the mountain, the East Mountain, and so there's caves in there, and there used to be hideouts for the Native Americans, and living spaces. They just were everywhere around there, and so it's said that he made his way to those same caves behind Hill House. And Hill House used to be, at one time, it's been many things. It's been a hospital, it's been a brothel, and for I think quite a bit of time it was a brothel. And so there was a perfect way for him to go have some fun, gamble, and then just looking at that East Mountain thinking, wow, I can easily hide my gold there, thinking nobody would find it, and nobody ever has. But it's quite possible it could be hidden somewhere, even in the house or under the house in one of the wells. Don't know. There's been a show recently. Anybody who watches Oak Island knows that show. Many people saw that on TV, on the History Channel, I believe, where they went to Haunted Hill House and started to look for Sam Bass's gold. So the search is on. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. A good treasure hunting?
Yeah.
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 Did enough
That would
time
be
for that.
great to find that, wouldn't it? To be stumbling down and go,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah. That's how much should be worth today with the money, value
gosh,
wise.
there's no telling. Be a
Right.
fortune. It was a fortune
Yeah.
then, so it would
Yeah.
certainly be a fortune now. Of course,
Oh yeah.
and then you've got it added to the fact attributed to whose gold it was, and
Oh
so
yeah.
then it would skyrocket.
Oh yeah. That's right. And you just talk about gambling. You want to talk about the scratcher room?
Yeah, that is something that the owners, Kathy and Sonny Estes, are wonderful people. They're truly caretakers of that house and of the spirits. They care. I mean, it's wonderful. It's beautiful. And the spirits, care about them too. I think they've really become this family, through the years there. But the scratcher room, there's cameras everywhere filming 24/7. And so the reason in that is, one, to make sure any paranormal activity, they catch that, and also they want to make sure that nobody's faking anything. And
Right.
so and there's just hundreds of documented cases where people have been scratched, bitten, and you could see it happening where as if let's say their hands are on the table or there's nothing around them, they didn't do it, and then ow, something's on their back, they look and there's scratches or bites. I mean, so many, hundreds and hundreds of just definitely not faked instances. And in fact, myself, I stay so protected. And even me, I felt like these little pinpricks and pinches, like nothing, no scratches or bites or anything, but they were getting through all of my protections even when I was there. And so and I know some people who are very credible, even people in law enforcement, who have been bitten and scratched, and they are definitely telling the truth. In fact, my friend Martha Decker, she has a book on Haunted Hill House that came out after mine, and a lot of hers is because she spent so much time there. She has documented all of her instances, and in her book, I talk about it in mine. She's in my book too.
Yeah.
But we talk about the bites and scratches, and she's also, as some other people have had, time slips. They have times where just time is slipped, and it's very strange.
It's kind of like with the alien abductions.
You're right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, but that'd be weird to experience.
That would, yeah, I would pass on that one
Yeah.
for sure. But I know, when my first experience there um, was very interesting. I stayed in what is called the Axe Room, and that's across the hall from the carousel room. And in between that room and the carousel room, if you walk down into the hallway, you would look up to the big staircase going upstairs. And upstairs, that's Toby Land. Although Toby and some children came into the Axe Room and more in the bathroom area where I was staying and kind of peeping around at me. There were people that had the bed move and shake and be pulled around in the carousel room that night. The morning, I thought that one of the little children spirits had come around again and was saying to me, shh, shh. And it woke me up, and I thought, well, I'm not saying anything, but okay, I'll be quiet. Or like, what's going on? And so I woke up with this like little child spirit kind of guiding, like, come on, out to the hall. And I thought, what is going on? Meanwhile, when I look across the hall into the carousel room, they're a little bit frantic because something had been pulling at them and moving the covers and everything. But I still heard this kind of a swish, swish, shush, shush. And I thought they were still shushing me. And I was like, what's going on? I'm not making any noise. I'm not even talking. But I make my way to the living room, and then I see nobody was shushing me. There is the vision for me of a young girl hanging from the rafter, and she is over the couch, and her skirt is scratching against the wall going
Wow.
and in fact,
Probably
one of
weird
the
acting.
people, that was crazy, and one of the people investigating had been staying on the couch that night and said she couldn't sleep all night, and it was just like somebody was looking over her. Well, they weren't, maybe they were, but they were hanging looking over her. And that is something that had been documented. I didn't know about it, but in the research for the book, Kathy and Sonny came across, they didn't know it at the time, this was just into the research of it, that an earlier owner had one of the paranormal groups come out, and they captured an EVP, and their psychic had said a girl had hung herself in that same area. And so that was interesting, and they had gotten an EVP that said they did it. And that was exactly what she was telling me, like somebody had hung her, had killed her, or hung her, or forcibly, hung her up there, and to keep a secret. So I don't know what that is. But I thought it was really interesting that it was in fact documented from, long time before, and I had no clue about it. So that's one thing, as you know, as a paranormal investigator, it's great to have that come up and keep those notes. That's why I always want people to keep notes about things, because you think you'll remember it, but if you're doing a lot of different things, you're not going to remember everything. And so just the mere fact that they had documented that and given that to him to keep in the notes for the house all these many years later, it was really a great backup to what I was experiencing. And Sonny had seen on using a tool to where, it looks almost like, I can't think of the name right now of the tool, but it looks like stick figures, when you're doing
SLS system.
yeah, that's exactly right. And so he had seen something up in that same area up there, like something hanging, like a body hanging. So, there was a couple instances to back that up, and I thought it was noteworthy enough to put in the book.
There just thought about the children there. And said in your book about maybe an imp.
Yeah, there's been all kinds of things. My mother had an experience with that. I have not personally, but the people who have, it's very frightening to them. So, an imp, some people would maybe call that, could be a troll, it could be, you could call it
Right.
anything, but what it is a smaller entity, and they're very fast, and sometimes pretty mischievous. So actually, my father had an instance with that too. He didn't see it like my mother did, but it kept, he had some interactions with that. And the thing is, I think that sometimes in that house, that the imp is sort of confused with the children, except for the personality and the movement style. So that's, I think, as time has gone on, people have distinguished, no, that's not they don't think that's the children, it's more mischievous. And it moves faster. So yeah, I think they have so many different entities there for sure. There was a little girl that sadly, was hit by a car and killed while she was playing with her ball right in front of Haunted Hill House. And
Oh,
I definitely believe her spirit is there because when I was first there, you could see her, walk right up the steps into the house. So I think she's still there.
yeah. After the show, I'll talk to you about empathy, and
Yeah.
I'll get out there something. Then. Um, what else do you wanna? Let me see here. We have any shows that are coming up, or any travels, or gonna be going any paranormal investigations?
Yeah, I'll be in Granbury, Texas, the third weekend of this month. I have a book signing there. And then I also have an event coming up. It's a charity event that will be there. So that's all on Facebook. Um, and it's, it's a lot of fun because you get to meet the people. When I had the book signing at the same place, it's Arts and Letters Bookstore in Granbury is where that's going to be. And when I was there a year ago, so I guess I'm putting out a book a year. But last year at the same time, I was there at Arts and Letters, and we sold out the book signing in 20 minutes. So hopefully this one will do just as well. And if look, I'll post some stuff too. But Shad Ramsey was a photographer that worked with a lot of paranormal groups, and Greg Stevens and his team RIP are going to be doing a charity event there. And so I will be signing books and doing some reading from Haunted Denton at that on the third Saturday.
So you ever get out to Ohio?
No, I need
It's a
to.
trip for you.
I need to. I've been to Chicago. I've been, I travel through them, but
Yeah,
I've been so busy. And of course, COVID has, kept me home for the last 2 years. I think
right.
everybody was in place for 2 years. So just now kind of trying to catch up on locations, but probably next year, I'll try to get it more up to the northern states as well.
Right. And now we have an investigation come up. August. I can talk to you about that. Y'all come out. I'll take you along.
That would be great. That would be a lot of
At
fun. That
the,
would be fun.
it's at the Poachtown Elementary. And
Oh no.
we're talking about the earlier today too. About so yeah, it'd be awesome to have you along for that.
Oh, I would love that. Yeah, one of these days, I'll have to make it up for sure. But I'm glad you enjoyed Haunted Hill House so much. That's why the book has been so popular, and they have so many fans that are Spanish speaking, and also India. There's a
Yeah,
huge, huge amount of people in India and Hindi speaking places that I decided to put the book out in Spanish and in Hindi so that other people could, have that experience of holding the book in their
right.
hand and reading it in their language.
No, the history press do that for a lot of their books.
No, I did that for Haunted Hill House. I put that book out with my press, Gray Fultz Press.
Oh,
Haunted
okay.
Hill
Oh,
House is
yeah.
put out from the History Press and Arcadia Press. So that's
Okay.
just in
All right.
English.
at the piece up.
This is my eighth book. All the books have been just in English except for Haunted Hill House, which is in those three languages.
That's probably the best one to have
Yeah.
it. Like I said, but we gotta get down there after interesting down there. So,
Oh, you'll love it. You'll never forget it. That's for sure.
oh, going
It'll be interesting to see what experiences you have,
uh, out doing my errands today, we look across the street and gas is at 5.09 now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
Yeah, it's very expensive.
across the street at Myers store, and we're still 30 cents less. So
Yeah.
there got gas,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, so that's going to keep a lot of people home. I know that for the Granbury event, they have discounted tickets even 40% just to kind of help make up for people having to drive down with those expensive gas prices.
right, and it's terrible, but
Mhm.
that's why I'm lucky to be in Ohio right now because they got a lot of stuff out here I can go to right down the road, like
Yeah, you can keep it
Post
close.
Town. Yeah, Post Town about an hour down from me, an hour.
Yeah. Well, there's so many, and that's one thing people, have to realize, maybe this year isn't the year they're traveling away for their paranormal experiences, but, really in every state, there's so many different things and haunted locations that you don't need to travel far. You can have your bucket list, but there's plenty that you can investigate right near where you are.
There, I have a fire museum out here. So it's Mansfield, and I can show right now. If you can see,
Oh, yeah.
I went there like 3 times. That place is just booming with activity.
Hmm.
It's all
Yeah.
one floor for me too, cause I have to walk with a cane. So
Yeah. Well, that's nice. I mean, it's good that they accommodate, and there are a lot of places. That kind of brings up a good point. Some people have asked, well, I'm handicapped or I'm in a wheelchair. I need this access or that access. But there's a lot of places that offer that, so you don't have to feel like you can't join in because of that. Maybe they not every place is going to have an elevator or certain things, but you can still stay on the first floor of places and have
right.
amazing experiences.
Well, I got like my investigators. They help me out a lot. So like I
Yeah,
said,
that's great.
Town, we went there one time before, and that place is just huge. And we had to do it at least twice because how big it was. Because so many places you can't, get to
Yeah,
classrooms. It's just too
it's too
big for
hard.
that. Yeah, we
Yeah.
got a lot of stuff out of there. We got a lot out of that place.
Well, I'm sure. I mean, there's a lot
We
of
got,
intense
we
things
got,
that happen in those spaces,
we got
And I
probably
will say that, like, when you're going to the UK, if you're doing any kind of travel or trips, it is not wheelchair accessible friendly in very many spaces. I had a knee injury, and so I at one point had a walker with me, and then another point when it was worse, I had a wheelchair. And oh my gosh, you very very limited in what you could do and get into without that. So you always need to check beforehand about the access. But a lot of places here in the U.S. you have access, easier.
we got one of our best video evidence from Post Town. In all the years we do, we've been like probably 13 years now. We're doing it.
Wow. What did you
Yeah.
catch?
In the auditorium, do I might be able to play a video if I have it here? That would be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Hmm. I have here.
Great.
There's I'll explain it first, but in gymnasium, a bunch of basketballs, and not all of them are fully inflated, so you can't really bounce them. And they had the wheelchair in there, real old wheelchair, and it's got the bucket seats that was there.
Hmm.
So my one friend or fellow investigator put basketball on it, and we had a camera over the whole gym. And he was up setting stuff out of the rooms with his son, and he came down, and me and Bill and what happened was this. If you walk by, the basketball's out in the middle of the floor. And he goes, "What? Did you guys take it off the chair?" But no, I didn't take it off the chair. So Bill got the video, came back, and it didn't just fly off the chair.
I was going to say do a full screen. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, that's probably the best we had. I mean, like
Very good. Yeah.
I still get goosebumps that when I see it because we were there and we got that, and it's like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
So
wonderful. Great
we're
footage. Yeah.
hoping to
You never
get
know.
more.
I'm glad you
Yeah,
captured that.
yeah, yeah. Something else that I got there, and I'll talk to you afterwards. I'm really comfortable talking about it now, but I'll talk to you afterwards. Um, yeah, like I said, we try to get to 2 or 3
Well,
places a year, and this year, um, uh, probably just one so far. But with
yeah, well,
travel and
that's
stuff,
okay.
it's hard to do.
Yeah, a lot of people at Haunted Hill House, going back to that, have experienced, they have trigger objects, whether that's a teddy bear or a toy or something in the carousel room, or even upstairs. They've had instances where, balls will move across the room, dolls, toys will. Of course, I'm sure as a fan of Hill House, you've seen the video where the woman is jerked forcefully off the bed. That has happened. They have a lot of different things, and on the book, even on the cover, there's different people who Jack Osborne, for one, says it's
Jack,
the most haunted place he's ever been, and so there's a lot of people that have been very, very active at a lot of locations and seen a lot of things that think that, hey, Haunted Hill House, that's the number one. So it's definitely warranted. And I do love the fact that, again, like I said, Kathy and Sunny have taken such great care of the place and brought it back to the look of, that it should be at the time. And I think that also helps with bringing in the spirits, because it's a big old, Victorian type house. And so it's decorated as such. And I think it brings the vibe of what they're used to at their time. And even, of course, as it still held that character, even though it
right?
changed through the decades and, through the brothels and through the 30s and all of that. So, but it's a beautiful place. It's very clean. They take good care of you there. So, anybody that's interested in investigating there, they just go to Haunted Hill House website, and you can book your time. They, of course, as being as haunted as it stays booked up. So if you're wanting to do something there, you're going to have to go online and make sure when you can book your time. Don't assume you can just go, I'll just get up there this weekend. That's not going to happen. So you got to take some time and book it, but it certainly is worth it.
Well, it's nice to have people who take care of stuff and keep upkeep it and
Yeah.
uh, keep it to us. Time of
Oh,
year.
it's always so nice there. It's warm in the winter, it's cool in the summer. It's a beautiful place, well kept, and they're so friendly. They want to make sure you have the best time. And so, there's different events that they host through the year, and people can join in. And so, yeah, it's definitely go check out their website, and I think you would love it.
Maybe I'll bring you on the show.
Yeah.
I love that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Do some live footage from there.
All right, I forgot to answer the question. Like when you go on paranormal investigations, besides yourself, what other tools did you use or tools?
Well, I really just use myself, but
I figured
sometimes,
that, but
I will take a recorder, just because you don't always pick up everything.
right.
Although, funny enough, the last interview that was done here in my house, which is very haunted, I talk about it in a lot of the books. There were audible things that people listening, I didn't catch it because I'm focused on you. I'm not paying attention to anything but that. But people listening in heard other voices and heard things like that. And so going back over it, as you would if you had recorded it in a place investigating, you can go back and hear those EVPs, electric voice phenomenon, electronic voice phenomenon, and catch those things. The funny thing, like I said in that last interview, I was talking about being careful, protecting yourself, and that you never actually know who you're talking to. And so somebody, a voice was like, "Oh, yeah, you have to be careful." And you hear this one voice go, "Oh, okay." And then when I'm saying, "Well, you never know who you're talking to," another spirit voice goes, "Phoebe," and I was like, "Okay." And funny enough, I do have a several times removed grandmother named Phoebe, who, in
Wow.
fact, this chest in front of me, this quilt chest, and one of the quilts has some fabric from her clothing, and also this was passed down the family line. So I do have some things that belong to Phoebe, and so that was interesting that it picked that up. But I use that. I will sometimes use a meter, just to let it be something, for those who don't know, it lights up from like 1 to 9 or 10 depending on what you have, and the lights go through there, kind of in a rainbow effect. And as a spirit is close to it, they can affect it and make that light up, and kind of answer your questions. I've had a lot of spirits want to use, it wasn't mine, but I take them now. They love to answer questions apparently with flashlights, turning them off and on. So things like that, very simple. And I think that's kind of great that people can get so many different answers with simple things. You don't have to have a lot of expensive equipment. It's great if you do, but it doesn't shut you out if you don't.
Some people get light up cat toys, little balls.
Yeah,
They use them too. And somehow they work too, because depending
you
on where
hear the
you go,
bell.
you got kids
Hmm.
that actually have balls and stuff. So
Yeah,
yeah,
any little toy,
we
any
try.
little thing works.
We tried all different things. We just stick to basically our force coolers and our meters, some meters, but like you said, I'm at a point now. I think over the last few years, I'm more in tune now when I go out to good places, and I just noticed it more. I mean, I've always been kind of an empath, and I am very susceptible to EMF. So you know, that I've been like that for a while. But
Yeah,
now
yeah.
that I go to some places, I can tell more. I think now than I
Hmm.
could
Hmm.
before.
Yeah, and that's good. You've honed your skills. A lot of time, I mean, they bring me out so I can tell them where it is. And when I was first starting out in all this many years ago, I remember asking, y'all are setting up everything in all the wrong places. Do you want me to just tell you where they are? And they're like, yes.
That goes there.
So
That goes there. That goes there.
yeah, they're like, I was like, y'all are all set up upstairs, and they're not upstairs or downstairs. They're in the basement. So it helps them sort that out.
I really find sometimes that we end up chasing them back and forth.
Hmm.
I had that
Oh yeah,
last.
they'll move. They don't stay in any
Right.
one. Very rarely. I mean, they'll move, and a lot of times when you come in, they leave. So it's something that it's helpful if you have somebody there that can pick that up.
Yeah, me and Teresa were at that fire museum, and we had that happen. Cause it was just us two at one time. We just talked together, and so we were doing an EP session, sitting up here, and then we hear a knock down there. We asked them to knock or make a noise. So we get down there and up here make a noise, and so we split it up. Then it didn't
Yeah,
make any noise at all. So
yeah, yeah. You never know
what are
what
you
you're
gonna
gonna
do?
get.
You know,
You
they
never
play those
know.
games too, and it's fun. I mean,
Hmm.
I enjoy like I go out and for hours and hours and do that and not get anything, and I still have fun doing it. I mean,
Oh,
very
sure.
rare.
That's half the fun. And a lot of times, people who aren't even interested in the paranormal side of it, if you have, people in your family, your friends, whatever, who are like, "Ugh, I don't care about that. But do you love history? And a lot of them do. And so
Yeah,
it's something they can do together. They don't have to be on the same hunt, but somebody not in the paranormal can enjoy the fact, oh, this is a really historic place or town, or, site, something happened here, memorable. So I think that it's something actually, a lot of people can do together without having the exact same interest.
right.
It works.
Well, a lot of the groups now have people who are typically researching for them too. So
Right. Yeah, for
that's
sure.
so people get in places that people can't.
Right. That's
Have,
right.
have connections I can't get. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And it's
but,
it's nice to know, I like to go in places not knowing anything. That way I feel
right, we do
like
that too.
my answer's a little more pure. But it's really cool to find out, to have, that history, somebody who's researching, and you find out later, like, oh, this matches up with exactly what you found or what you thought. And that's really great. But it's also not bad to know the history where you're going, because then you can play the right music, play, some kind of toy that was for that time period or something, have trigger objects that they would be more attuned to than just a random thing from now. So, it's good. It's great either way, however it works out for people.
Like for Post Town, I did kind of research from that before we left, and I ain't telling anybody about it, and they want to know. So I watched a few videos of tours and looked up stuff online about it, Post Town and early, and found out all that history on and stuff. I kept it, away from them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because they would know. And so once we got in, they'd get a little tour. They didn't tell us a whole lot. One thing we don't want to know is what other people got and where they got it when they're there. What all the
Hmm.
other teams got. I don't know that. Because we don't want to concentrate on those areas and not get anything. So when we go able to say, well, this feels right here. We'll put something here for the night. Maybe switch it later and, we try to learn a lot. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
and
That's
then
great.
like
Yeah.
one time I stayed in one room by myself, and what happened was uh, I was in the bad teacher room at Post Town by myself, and
Hmm.
I was standing there. I don't see nothing. I'll just listen if I can hear something. I asked a question or something, but I just sat there still saying nothing. Everybody else sit down at the end of the hall there, check on the light that was going off or something. I didn't want to move. I was tired. So I was sitting in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
In
I'll
bed
just be here.
I was
I'll just
sitting
wait.
looking down the hall and I heard bang real loud. I'm like, what the hell? It's like some bang on something. And I jumped like, what the heck was that? And I I didn't really say anything. I just jumped like, what the guess, because sometimes it was time to right out. And it's so loud. I'm like, and Teresa yells down the hall, did you say
Wow.
something? I said, I didn't say a word. I said, did you hear anything? She said, I didn't hear a thing.
Wow.
So when I went back to review it, you get a loud bang. They couldn't hear it. I heard it, they couldn't hear
Yeah. That's interesting. That happens at kind of going back to Hill House. I know that's one of your favorites. Is there will be people that hear things very loud, very clear, as if somebody's right there in their ear, and somebody standing close to them won't hear it at all, or loud noises or things like this. But yet, it's something that's selective with each person. It seems like what they hear, what they see. So it's really interesting. It's a great place to research.
there's a nurse. First, I realized that I was coming to more in tune with myself. Was
Hmm.
about 4 or 5 years ago. We did a it's called Halloween Mansion. It's in PA. I can't remember the
Uh-huh.
town mention, but it was the first time I was there, and I was sitting upstairs, and I think it was just the boys' bedroom, and there was Jacob and Hannah.
Oh,
And well, we always put our recorders on so we get in. And we're setting up, we're recording. I'll talk to mom, yeah.
right.
And now they're like talking to yourself, but I was there. Everybody else was downstairs, and I saw it. I said, "Is Jacob here, or is Hannah here?" And I could swore I heard her later say, "I should said."
Yeah,
I'm like, I heard that,
yeah.
and
They're
I
definitely
too up.
interacting with you for
And I
sure.
actually heard it myself. And Tracy upstairs, I was freaking out, saying, I asked her the hand out, and it said, I picked it up on recorder.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's when I first realized that I can, have the ability to really hear it if I want to, if I really get myself in, and I'm trying to work on that now. And if you have suggestions on how to, help with that, I mean, maybe talk about that some other time.
Sure, sure. Be
I want
great.
to,
That'll be great. Yeah, I can't believe I see now. It's like our time is up. That's great. It goes so fast. But yeah, some other time I'd love to.
well, it's one person there, a viewer, if they have to say it there if they want to get the book.
Yeah.
So I'm
Who's
not
getting the
sure.
book tonight?
All I'm gonna say is there's one person viewing. I'm not sure who that is though. If you're there, post a comment and you get the book.
Well, if not, then you'll have it for the next giveaway.
Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna do that, I guess. But they usually couple hours in the year. I think because Monday isn't really,
Yeah, yeah.
but so,
When it's
I
not your normal day.
they get a lot of views though afterwards usually. And I
Oh
think
yeah,
7 o'clock is a little early sometimes for people too. So,
yeah, for sure, for sure.
well,
I've enjoyed it. Thank you for having me on. It's been great.
I'll see. I can see the viewers, and I'll give them the book. But
Okay, terrific. Well, thank you so much.
yeah, okay. You'll hang out for a couple minutes.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Okay. I appreciate having you on here and had a blast. You and sorry for the little mess up doing.
Oh, no problem at all. No problem at all. And you're having storms up there too, so sometimes that affects it,
It's that echo. That's a little.
That happens. That happens. No problem.
Okay, I'm gonna go out of here and I'll see you afterwards. Thanks
Okay.
again. Hey, happy hunting, everyone.